Paraguayan health authorities recorded the highest number of COVID-19 infections since the beginning of the pandemic in the country. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko accused the United States of promoting the demonstrations against his government. The World Health Organization reports that at least 92 people have contracted the Ebola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Laura Palmeiro. Paraguayan health authorities recorded the highest number of COVID-19 infections since the beginning of the pandemic in the country. The health ministry reported 684 new COVID-19 cases and 5 deaths in the last 24 hours. Today, the South American nation has confirmed more than 11,000 coronavirus infections. On a positive note, more than 6,000 patients have recovered from the disease. Paraguay's death toll stands at 170, and the Paraguayan health minister announced new measures to restrict social gatherings and the movement of people and vehicles. On Friday, Brazilian authorities reported more than 3.5 million COVID-19 cases and over 112,000 deaths. Government authorities confirmed more than 45,000 new COVID-19 cases, in addition to over 1,200 deaths in the last 24 hours. Epidemiological experts estimate that the total number of infections in the country could be 10 times higher than the published figures. Brazil continues to be the second most affected country in the world by the pandemic. In Colombia, the National Institute of Health recorded more than 11,000 new COVID-19 cases in the country. The institute also confirmed 204 new deaths due to COVID-19, alerting citizens of a possible increase in the number of deaths in the country, causing a possible health crisis. The authority called on the Colombian people to comply with biosecurity measures to save lives and prevent further spread of the disease. Stores reopen in an open-air shopping zone in Buenos Aires as Argentina eases quarantine despite it still struggling with COVID-19 and registering more than 320,000 cases. Argentina's State Statistics Institute said that its economy contracted by almost 13% in the first quarter of 2020 compared to the same period last year. Almost 6 months after the first detected in Latin America, the coronavirus death toll has reached 250,000. COVID-19 crisis has deepened poverty and inequality, threatening to undo a decade of slow social progress among the 620 million people in the region. Speaking on Cuban television's Mesa Redonda program this Thursday, the Director General of the Finlay Institute of Vaccines offered information regarding the clinical trial of the vaccine candidate known as Finlay FR1.
We wanted to say this is a step which in terms of coronavirus is considered a major step. There are over 200 vaccine candidates in development in the world, and only 30. This is the 30th that secured approval to start the clinical trial. On the screen you can see there's a website on the New York Times called Coronavirus Vaccine Tracker, and on that website a few days ago it was reported that our vaccine, developed by the Finlay Institute of Vaccines, had received approval to start the clinical trial on August 24th.
Trinidad and Tobago recorded its highest rate of infection for COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, with the Ministry of Health announcing 81 new cases. Meanwhile, the re-elected Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley was tested for COVID-19 because he says he was exposed to someone with the disease. He'll remain in quarantine until Monday and advise everyone to respect the hygiene measures to prevent infections. This country's total cases stood at 767 confirmed cases. The Ministry of Health said that the 25 active cases are currently being treated in Tobago. The Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parasaram, said that the coronavirus had the potential to explode exponentially within the population in a very short period of time. A Grenadian visitor who arrived on the British Airways flight last Tuesday is the latest COVID-19 positive patient in Barbados. The 38-year-old man was in transit to Grenada when he was tested for the viral illness upon arrival at the Grantley Adams International Airport. He is now in isolation and no one will be discharged from isolation, and so the numbers at the facility have increased to 26. Confirmed cases now stands at 156 and recoveries at 123. Tropical Depression 14 formed Thursday morning about 235 miles east of Cabo Gracias a Dios, which is located on the border of Honduras and Nicaragua, while Tropical Depression 13 has become the tropical storm Laura. Tropical Depression 14 was nearing the coast of Honduras this Friday morning, and the U.S. National Hurricane Center said it was expected to veer northwest and cut across the tip of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula Sunday, possibly at hurricane force. From there, the long-term forecast track would carry it into U.S. Gulf Coast, perhaps Texas or Louisiana, by Tuesday or Wednesday. Meanwhile, Tropical Depression 13 officially strengthened into Tropical Storm Laura and is packing maximum sustained winds of 14.5 miles per hour and is moving west. The forecast cone has shifted even farther south and west on Friday morning. Welcome back to From the South. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko accused the United States of promoting the demonstrations against his government and claimed that the European Union is echoing Washington. The U.S. plans everything and Europe plays along, said that the politician in a meeting with workers of the agricultural cooperative Sędzierzyński. Meanwhile, Minsk will carry out military exercises in the area of Grodno, bordering Poland and Lithuania. The Belarusian defense minister announced this Friday that the military drills will take place between the 28th and the 31st of August under the orders of the commander of the Western Operational Command. These tactical exercises are carried out in response to the deployment of NATO troops in Poland and Lithuania. In Russia, doctors have not found any evidence that the Russian opposition activist Alexei Navalny was poisoned. According to the chief doctor of the Omsk medical facility where he is being treated, Dr. Alexander Murakoshky, Alexei Navalny may have experienced a rapid drop in blood sugar levels during a flight on Thursday. Murakoshky added that doctors have refused to allow the activist to be evacuated by plane to Germany because this metabolic instability can increase during the takeoff and landing. Earlier, his deputy, Dr. Anatoly Kalinichenko, revealed that poison or traces of them were not found in Navalny's blood or urine. China's vaccine for the COVID-19 pandemic will be available and affordable to people worldwide, said in Beijing Liu Jingshan, chairman of the China National Pharmaceutical Group. A ceremony took place in the capital of Thursday to launch the Phase 3 in which clinical trials for the vaccine will be performed in Peru. Peru's national health authorities have approved the trials, the latest in China's efforts to strengthen international cooperation in pandemic control. Liu said that China's biotech group is carrying out the research with experts from some of Peru's leading universities. Liu pointed out two research and production facilities in Beijing and Wuhan, which was hit by the hardest virus, that could ensure the supply of 200 million vaccines a year.
We launched the promotion of international clinical trials in April, so we are making key breakthroughs in the United Arab Emirates, which have been very successful. Today, we established a cooperation relationship with Peru and officially received the documents in all aspects, and will soon start equity participation. Up to now, the clinical phase 3 trials, from the experimental point of view, the layout is completely sufficient. We launched the promotion of international clinical trials in April, so we are making key breakthroughs in the United Arab Emirates, which have been very successful. Today, we established a cooperation relationship with Peru and officially received the documents in all aspects, and will soon start equity participation. Up to now, the clinical phase 3 trials, from the experimental point of view, the layout is completely sufficient.
On the last night of the Democratic Party's convention this Thursday, the confirmed candidate Joe Biden promised to end the darkness of Donald Trump's presidency. The 77-year-old politician has a clear lead in opinion polls over President Donald Trump. However, the Republicans still have over 2 months to narrow the gap. Referring to America's coronavirus death toll, Biden said that Trump failed in his most basic duty to protect the American people. In the past 3 nights of his online convention, several speakers have depicted Trump incompetent, selfish, and a danger to democracy. While Biden was still speaking, the Trump 2020 campaign issued a statement dismissing the candidate as a pawn in a radical leftist. In the speech, the former vice president showed himself as an opportunity to bring unity to the country.
The current president has cloaked American darkness for much too long. Too much anger, too much fear, too much division. Here and now, I give you my word. If you entrust me with the presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness. It's time for us, for we the people, to come together.
A series of massive fires in northern and central California forced more evacuations as they quickly spread Thursday, darkening the skies and dangerously affecting air quality. Most of the blazes were touched off by a rush of lightning strikes earlier in the week. They are burning in the north, east, and south of San Francisco and are being fed by grueling heat wave afflicting the state along with low humidity. Evacuation orders were dictated in several counties overnight as the flames destroyed homes, forced the shutdowns of roads, and heavily damaged California's oldest state park. Officials said some 60,000 people had been evacuated and 100,000 more were under evacuation warnings. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The World Health Organization reports that at least 92 people have contracted Ebola in the Equator province of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. A new outbreak of the disease was also confirmed in recent reports in the town of Bandaka in the same province, where 96 cases, 42 deaths, and 37 recoveries were reported. The World Health Organization said that the Ebola virus continues to spread in the Equator province and is therefore a source of great concern. The UN Health Organization also stated that the Ebola outbreak sparks serious complications amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and a complex humanitarian crisis in the African nation. Members of South Africa's National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union gathered outside the National Health Laboratories Service in Johannesburg to demand better protective gear against the COVID-19 coronavirus, better salaries and hazard bonuses.
The challenges we're facing is that we feel the employer is not taking care of us simply because they are not offering us anything like an increase and so forth. They say we don't need to get anything. And we've been working hard since the COVID has been implemented, and still even today we are not happy with everything. So we feel our employer is failing us because the cost of living is high and everything has increased, but we are getting nothing.
So we are very much unhappy about that, and what standard are we setting as NICD or NHLS, because everybody's supposed to be taking the line of march from us in terms of PPE. but we were ordered bikinis. If you were to be shown, everybody took them back. And then the next batch that was ordered again, still substandard. It couldn't even cover your nose or your face. You had to make a choice, whether is it your nose or your mouth.
Representatives of the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali got access to President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and several of his ministers arrested during Tuesday's military uprising. A human rights team of MINUSMA visited the city of Kati yesterday in the evening within the framework of its mandate to protect human rights. On Tuesday, a mutiny broke out in Mali at a Kati military base near the capital Bamako. A group of senior military officials arrested President Keïta and several ministers. Hours later, the president announced his resignation and the dissolution of parliament and the government. Rival governments have announced a truce across a civil war-torn Libya, urging an end to foreign involvement in the flow of mercenaries into the conflict. Fayez al-Sarraj, the head of the UN-backed Tripoli-based government of national accord, issued instructions to all military forces to immediately cease fire in all Libyan territories and called for elections. The objective is to impose a full sovereignty over the Libyan territory and the departure of foreign forces and mercenaries. On the other hand, Aguila Saleh Issa, the head of Tobruk-based parliament, supported the ceasefire, calling it a necessary measure to prevent foreign involvement in the conflict. The acting head of the UN mission to Libya, Stephanie Williams, welcomed the announcement as a hope for a peaceful political solution. Libya has been plagued by the devastating civil war since 2011, when its longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi was toppled and killed in a NATO intervention. Iraqi resistance movements demand the definitive withdrawal of U.S. troops from the country. The Iraqi resistance movements gave an ultimatum to the U.S. forces, otherwise they claim they will attack the U.S. interests in Iraq and will be treated as an occupying force. This warning came after a meeting between Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Qasemi and Donald Trump in Washington. Likewise, resistance movements stated that al-Qasemi must implement the resolution approved in January by the parliament for the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Friday said Turkey had made its biggest ever discovery of natural gas after completing new exploration work in the Black Sea. Erdogan said that 320 billion cubic meter deep-sea find was made at a site Turkish vessels began exploring last month, adding that they hope to see the first gas reach Turkish consumers by 2023. However, the Turkish currency lira reversed early gains against the dollar after the announcement. It was down 0.3% of 3:42 p.m. in Istanbul. The Borsa Istanbul 100 index also gave up gains and fell as much as 1.9%, possibly reflecting disappointment over the size of the find.
Turkey has made the biggest discovery of natural gas in its history in the Black Sea. We're going to speed up our operations in the Mediterranean with the deployment by the end of the year of the Kanuni drilling ship, which is currently in maintenance.
As the committee charged with drafting a new constitution for Syria will meet for the first time in 9 months, the UN Special Envoy for Syria says it cannot solve the Syrian conflict but can help to build trust and confidence.
The Constitutional Committee in itself and the discussions in the committee, of course, cannot solve the Syrian conflict. But I have said that if it is handled correctly, it can be a door opener to a broader political process. And it can help to build trust and confidence. And it will send a message to the Syrian people, first and foremost, and to the international community that something new has started. No one expects that this meeting here next week will produce a miracle or a breakthrough. That's not what this is about. This is about the beginning, about a long and cumbersome process where we hopefully can start to see progress.
Shiite pilgrims poured into the Iraqi shrine city of Karbala on Friday in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic to celebrate Muharram, the first month of Islamic calendar. The pilgrimage is expected to be one of the largest religious gatherings in the Muslim world since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, which already forced Saudi Arabia to hold the smallest Hajj, the annual Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca in modern history. Now begins Muharram, and billions of Shiites from around the world flock to Iraq to commemorate the birth of their faith, praying, eating, and reflecting together. But this year, authorities in Iraq, Iran, and beyond have repeatedly urged their citizens to forgo real-life pilgrimages due to the high risk of contracting the coronavirus. And we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Remember to join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Laura Palmeiro. Thank you for watching.